Hey everybody, it's Lebo with Lebo's Pinball, and we are starting in on Gottlieb's Bankaball. So to kind of get started, I went through this game just to check it out to see what's functioning and what's not functioning, see if I need to address anything to get started. And actually for this game, everything seems to be working. Some things could be improved, but it is functional. So that kind of clears things to kind of get started on diving in deeper on some other issues. So the first thing that I want to look at, and if you take a look here, look at the Playfield. Like I was mentioning in an earlier video, it's really in good shape, but we've got some ball swirls. And if you look at this one picture here, what I was wanting to do is to try to see if I could do something to improve some of these ball swirls. I may not be able to get them to completely go away, but I wanted to see what I could do. So with a little magic eraser and I think I had 91% rubbing alcohol, just carefully kind of scrub into that paint, and it has improved it. You can see going to this next picture what it's done. So that was just kind of a spot check. Follow back up with a little bit of Novus and polishing it out. So I'll kind of proceed cautiously on other areas that need it, and just kind of give it an all cleaning. But it was more out of curiosity to see how that's going to come along before I dive in deeper. But before I go that route, the next thing that I really want to do, this is kind of more in the functional area. So the flippers on this game, if you take a look here, I've went ahead and replaced the flipper buttons, and the reason for that, things just, when you hit these, the whole game, it felt like it was kind of fighting you a little bit, like it didn't want to hit it real crisply. And if you look at this picture here, I've got a comparison of the old buttons versus new ones. You can see where all that red, I guess anodized is worn off. But by putting in these new buttons and cleaning out the sockets, or the little guides that they ride in, it made a big difference just on the way that this moves. Getting these things in and out can be a little bit of a pain. There is a spring in here that looks, or not spring, but a little clip that goes around it that looks kind of hard to get out, and you have to just kind of pry on it kind of hard in a certain way, and it's not that bad. Once you've done it a few times, you can bend the edge up and it just pops right out. But I've replaced those, and went ahead and tested the game again, and it felt a lot better already. But that's not where we're not gonna stop there. We've got the next step is to actually replace and rebuild the whole flipper mechanism. So here we go. I've got the Playfield. It's upside down right now, but it's on the rotisserie from the Pin Dock. And taking a first assessment of these. So here's one thing that I see right off the bat. This is not uncommon at all, but you see that slop? I'll see if I can get close. All right, you shouldn't have that. That should be really minimal, but it's very normal. I mean, it happens, it wears. So the hole that's in this linkage, it's just kind of egg-shaped. It's oblong just because of all the wear over time. And that little bit of wear really can rob a lot from the feel and the power of the flippers. So that's going to get replaced. And these coils, they kind of look rough. I think they're working okay. They look kind of rough, but I'm going to be putting in some, they're called Gottlieb 5141 yellow dot coils. I think they're like 10 or 15% more powerful than just a standard 5141 coil. And this game, I think, really needs it. So we're gonna throw those in when we do the whole rebuild. Other things that I'm noticing that doesn't seem to be really a problem, honestly, like moving this back and forth. The bushing seems to be fine, but I'll probably put a new one in anyways. That one looks like that it might have been replaced. It probably was replaced at one point. But we'll put a new one of those in. Of course, these in the stroke switches, we'll put new ones in there, and we'll get the gap as tight as I can with it not you know, acting weird. But that would allow, you know, to give a good, nice, strong stroke. So we want to promote that. But yeah, and all these brackets, I'll probably clean them up, polish them up a little bit while I have them out. But that is next on the agenda. All right, so here's this rebuild kit that we're going to use for this bank ball. This comes from good old Pinball Resource. Steve Young does a fine job really supplying parts and answering questions, and a great guy to help support this whole hobby and the whole industry. But anyways, he's got a great kit here, and just want to show you everything that we're going to do. In addition to the kit, we've also got these are those yellow dot coils that I'm going to put in. They didn't come with this, but it's going to be the right time to put it all in. But just to kind of show you, like, so that linkage, you know, that had all that slop, it's kind of hard to do one-handed while holding the phone, but there is absolutely like no movement. I mean, it's there's no slop at all. And the other end, whenever this goes down in, actually on here, it's a, you know, pretty tight clearance. I mean, it's not tight like it's not allowing to move, but there's really no slop in that either. So this should really just tighten up the whole mechanism. But came with the new bushings. We'll put those in, new springs, and the stroke switches, linkages, plungers. You've also got these end stops, or whatever you want to call it. This is basically what happens. The plunger will smack those whenever it goes in its full, when it's fully displaced into the coil, and they get hammered over time. So, you know, the original ones, they kind of flare out and they cause problems there too. So this, not only do they flare up, but they also kind of shorten, which alters, you know, how much throw that the flipper is moving. So this kind of resets all that back to the beginning. So that will get put in as well. So before I start taking anything apart, I like taking pictures of, you know, all the parts, making sure that I get the wires put back in the right place. It's not hard. I mean, you just got basically a double coil here going to where you've got an end of stroke switch. Once that opens up, it just goes to just the you know, the hold coil instead of it being the full strength. That's basically all there is to it, but you know, you just want to make sure that you set it up right. So here is the starting point. All right, so to get started, I am going to unsolder the wires that go to this coil. So let's just, actually what I'd like to do, just to kind of get everything flowing a little better, put a little bit of fresh solder actually on this. Just seems to help everything flow a little better. Heat this up. Come on. There we go. All right, so that one's off. Let's go to the others. Actually, now I think about it, I'm not even gonna have to fool with those because I'm gonna be replacing, I'm gonna put new wires. Those red wires, I'm gonna put some new ones on. Let's go ahead and heat this up. Get this other wire out. Come on, don't burn myself. There we go. All right, that one's out. Let's set the iron to the side. All right, so next what we want to do, now that we've got that disconnected, I'm gonna take this switch loose, because that bracket and the switch, that's all getting replaced. And this coil's getting replaced. So let's go ahead and find the screwdriver wherever it went. All right, let's see if we can get this guy out. Come on. Some of these old flat or common screwdriver or common flat blade screws, really kind of the pits. All right, so that one's out. Let's go this one here in the back. Hopefully this will go a little easier. Oh yeah. It seemed like this may have been loose. That could have also been contributing to a little bit of a problem. Yeah, that one a little bit too. All right, so we got those screws out. So then now the end stop and the coil. Okay, so yeah, this just came out. So let's take a look at it. So, wow, it's like it's trapped onto the sleeve. Wow, I can tell that's taking a beating. I don't know how well you can see that in the camera, but I was mentioning earlier, you can kind of see like the edge there. It gets hammered over time. It just starts to squash in a little bit. So this whole piece here will get replaced. I'll take this nut off, and this little end stop will get replaced with a new one. And of course, there'll be a new sleeve that goes with the new coil. All right, and so next we need to take this linkage and the bell crank and the spring out. So to do that, I'm going to take just the hex wrench here to get into these set screws. That was pretty easy on that one. At least it wasn't stuck. Wasn't hard to at least break free. Let's get this other one, and as soon as I do this, the whole flipper shaft should be free. It's probably going to drop right out. Now the thing is that flipper, it looks brand new. I'm not convinced that it wasn't recently replaced, which is just, let's take a look at it. Okay, got it out. Yeah, this looks, oh, I don't know. I think I know what's going on. So this is called the shoe and the shaft. I think that may be original, or at least, it's not recent. But the top part, the actual flipper, this screw here, when you take that out, this whole upper plastic flipper part actually comes off, and that's probably been replaced. And that's the important part, really. The shaft and this shoe, it's not bad. I don't think they really go bad too often. But anyway, so that one's out. So all right, so then now we got this, the plunger and the linkage and the little bell crank out. The spring is held in with the screw here with the other screws that take this whole bushing out. So let's go ahead and do that. Come on. And this one screw is a little different than the others. Actually, it's got like a little bit of a flange on it. It's not really all that critical, but I'm gonna do it right. Put the right screw in the right spot. All right, so there we go. Got this out, and now it's just a matter of kind of cleaning things up and putting things back. All right, so I cleaned up some of these brackets. They look pretty shiny. Basically, I put them in an ultrasonic cleaner to get some of the dirt off. But the main shine was because I took all these pieces and I put them over on a buffing wheel with some jeweler's rouge to try to shine them up a little bit. So it's not going to do anything probably functionally other than just make it look a little nicer underneath the hood. So anyways, all right, let's start putting things back together. I put a few things in place. So here I've got went ahead and put the end-of-stroke switch on the new coil. Went ahead and soldered those wires together. Just kind of set things here just for a minute. I went ahead and installed the new bushing with the new spring. That was the spot that the spring was positioned on before, and so that's back in place. Here's the new bell crank, and notice there is no slop. That's good. And one other thing to point out here, so the plunger, so here's the original one. Maybe kind of hard to tell a little bit in the camera, but yeah, it's not too terribly bad. I've seen them a lot worse, but this thing just hammers over time and it starts to flare out. And as it does, it grabs hold of the sleeve, and it just, it starts to kill some of the performance because it's just dragging inside the coil. So, all right, let's put this in here. Just gonna lay that there. I'm gonna go ahead and take the flipper itself, run it up through the shaft, or I'm sorry, run the shaft up through this bushing, and they're not tight at all. Just kind of hold that in place. All right, let's get this into position. I've got, oh, I guess I should probably point this out. So you've got the sleeve, you've got the flange end of the sleeve that's on this end. The other end's just going to slip right in to that little bracket there. And here we've got the other end with the coil stop. Here was the old one, unscrewed it, put it onto the new one, or put the new one on the bracket. Let's put this in place. Screws here. Don't have things seated right. That's better. Come on. All right, so when you tighten these down, let me go ahead and get them started, but when you tighten it down, kind of like what I was talking about earlier with slopping the linkage and everything, you want to have all the slop out. You don't want to have this loose at all. That is no good. So what I'm doing is I'm pushing this bracket forward as much as I can to tighten it all up. Tighten the screws. Yeah, it's coming along. Get around this other side. Mostly good. Let's make it a little better. All right, that's tight. All right, that's better. See, the coil is not, it's held in there really snug. And that just, again, it's all about trying to maximize the power in here. And now let's take these other screws and get the end of stroke switch in place. All right, got the end of stroke switch in place. And one thing I just noticed, actually two things. One, I forgot to actually take this the spring. You got to kind of clock it around here so that you can go ahead and preload it onto this the end of the bell crank there. And also these bell cranks, they actually have there's 3 screw holes. There's one here, one right there, and then there's one back here. They're all like at 180 degrees from each other. And initially I had one screw here and then one there, and just kind of test fitting it. It looked like the head of the screw was touching the end of the stroke switch. Didn't really like that, so I'm trying to put it on this back side here. It's a little harder to get to, to tighten things down, but it's going to be more, I think, more out of the way. So anyways, I've moved that over. Let's slip the flipper back in place. And I'm just going to kind of snug these, not really tight just yet. The reason, because I need to flip the Playfield over when it's time to actually tighten these screws and get the right orientation of the flipper. So I'm just kind of snugging them up for now, and then yeah, this other one back here it's still pretty loose, but this one's enough, tight enough to kind of hold it in there for now. And what I'll have to check though is in its full displacement, that's totally down, that's totally open. I have to start looking really close here to see, is it opening up the switch or not? And I can already tell that it's way out of adjustment. I mean, it's got to start opening it up there. It's not even touching this. And when I get to here, it's just touching the insulator. It's not even opening up the switch. So I'll make that adjustment here after a little bit. But next I'm going to go ahead and move over here and finish up putting the wires back in on the coil. Getting some of that fresh solder in there. All right, let's get this other one on. All right, I think we're good on that. No, we are not good on that. See? Awful. Cold solder joint. See if I can get this through that lug with that other wire in there. There we go. That's better. I'm going to run a little more solder over that, kind of boogered up the insulation a little. I'll clean that up here in a minute. Let's just flow a little more around here, just clean it up. All right, that's better. And now, just because I'm a big pinball nerd, I hate when things look bad. All right. So that's done. It's just a matter of now just, setting the end of stroke switch here, actually clocking the flippers to the bell crank, and I think it's basically done. All right, so take a look at it right now. It's full position. As I said earlier, it's just barely touching the insulator. It's not even hitting the other end of that leaf to even open up the switch. So what I'm going to try to do here is let's bend this in a little to where at least we know that it's starting to move the leaf. Let's take this one out a little. Okay, I know we've got some movement here now. I don't know if it's enough to open it though. Well, that's definitely opening it. But what I'm concerned about is it closing all the way? So I'm going to take this and tighten it just a little. Okay, still opening it, but the gap, I've heard that you want to have, I think it's like maybe an 1/8 of an inch gap. I don't know if it's quite that much. Let's take this in a little more. And, you know, honestly, it's going to be a little bit of a trial and error. Once I actually get this back in the game and test it just to see how it feels, it might be that I need to tighten it up or open it up a little bit, but just kind of shooting in the wind right now. So that's probably okay for now. I can tell it is closing. You can see just a little bit of the movement of this inner leaf. So I think it's okay for now. I'm gonna have to flip the playfield back over and get the flippers clocked correctly, and we'll tighten it down, but then we'll move on over to the other one, and then we're all done. Yeah, I'm gonna call it done. Here's just kind of an overview. Look at it, the difference. So time to move to the other side, and we'll have the flippers all rebuilt.